Let me start with something uncomfortable, something most people avoid thinking about because it exposes a truth they do not want to face. How much of your life have you spent trying to prove you matter to people who were never really paying attention? Think about it carefully. How many hours have you wasted holding your phone, typing and deleting messages, posting things you did not even care about, or explaining your dreams to people who nodded politely, but forgot the moment you stopped talking? How many times did you feel busy, important, productive, but deep down you knew nothing actually changed? This is not an attack. This is a wake-up call. Because if you do not hear this now, you will miss the most important shift you can make in your life. Here's the goal, even if you do not realize it yet. You want control, you want clarity, you want a life that feels solid instead of fragile. You want to stop feeling like your energy is leaking in every direction. You want results that speak for you so you no longer feel the urge to explain yourself. You want to wake up one day and realize you are no longer chasing approval, likes, attention, or permission. You want to feel grounded, dangerous in a quiet way, unshakable. That is the real goal, not money, not status, not praise. Those are side effects. The real goal is becoming someone who does not need the noise anymore. But here is the problem. And this is where most people get stuck without even knowing it. You live in a world that trains you to talk before you act, to announce before you build, to seek applause before you are in progress. You are encouraged to share everything, your plans, your routines, your struggles, your goals, your meals, your workouts, your mindset. And every time you do, your brain rewards you. It gives you a hit of dopamine. It makes you feel like something happened, but nothing did. You feel full, but you did not eat. You feel accomplished, but you did not move. You feel seen, but you are still standing in the same place. This is the trap. Most people are not lazy. They are distracted. They are addicted to the feeling of progress without the pain of progress. Talking becomes a substitute for doing. Explaining becomes a replacement for discipline. Validation becomes a cheap version of self-respect. And slowly, without noticing, you start trading real power for temporary attention. That is why so many people feel empty when the noise stops. That is why silence feels uncomfortable. That is why being alone with your thoughts feels heavy. Because without the performance, there is nothing to hide behind. Here is the part nobody wants to admit. When you tell people what you are going to do, your brain reacts as if you already did it. It releases dopamine. It rewards the intention, not the execution. You feel motivated, energized, confident, but that feeling fades. And when it fades, the work still remains. Only now you have less hunger to do it, less fire, less pressure. You leaked it through your mouth. You burned fuel without moving the car. This is why you keep starting and stopping. This is why January motivation dies by February. This is why plans feel exciting at night and impossible in the morning. This is why you feel like you know what to do, but cannot make yourself do it. You are overdosing on intention and underdosing on action. You are living in the announcement phase instead of the execution phase. Now here is the solution. And it is simple, but it is not easy. You have to learn how to disappear, not physically, mentally, socially, emotionally. You have to stop giving people access to your vision before it is ready. You have to stop explaining yourself, stop broadcasting, stop narrating your life. Silence is not weakness. Silence is containment. Silence keeps pressure inside. And pressure, when held long enough, becomes force. Look at how anything real grows. Seeds do not grow in meetings. Roots do not develop under spotlights. Strength is not built in public. It is built in repetition, in boredom, in obscurity, in discomfort. You are not failing because you are slow. You are failing because you keep exposing unfinished work to unfinished opinions. You keep digging up the seed to check if it grew. And every time you do, you damage the roots. Most people in your life do not need to hear your plans. Not because they hate you, but because they are not built to hold them. When you share a big vision with someone who's not moving, they do not hear possibility, they hear pressure. Your growth reflects their stagnation. Your ambition highlights their comfort. And unconsciously, they try to shrink you back to a size that feels safe to them. They say be realistic. They say slow down. They say that is risky. They say maybe later, not because they want you to fail, but because your rise makes them uncomfortable. So you have to protect your vision. Not everyone deserves a seat at the table while you are still building it. Some people only deserve to see the finished product. Silence filters. Silence strengthens. Silence forces you to face yourself instead of performing for others. And here is where it gets hard: when you stop talking, when you stop posting, when you stop explaining. The room gets quiet, very quiet. And in that quiet, you will feel something heavy. The weight of your own potential. The pressure of knowing that now there is no audience to blame, no one to impress, no one to distract you, just you and the work. That is why most people avoid silence. They fill every moment with noise, music, podcasts, scrolling, drama, conversation. Because if everything goes quiet, they might have to meet the person they have been running from. The version of themselves that knows exactly what needs to change. If you want 2026 to be different, not cosmetically different, but fundamentally different, you have to stop running. You have to sit in that quiet. You have to look at yourself honestly. Not with shame, not with hate, but with responsibility. You have to reach a point where you stop asking, how do I look? And start asking, do I respect myself? Because here is the truth. You cannot build something powerful if you do not trust yourself. And you cannot trust yourself if you keep breaking promises to yourself. If you say you will wake up early and you do not. If you say you will train and you skip. If you say you will focus and you scroll. Every broken promise erodes self-respect, and no amount of external validation can replace that. Real confidence does not come from being seen. It comes from knowing you did the work when nobody was watching. It comes from stacking small wins in private. From choosing discipline over comfort. From doing the boring things consistently. From showing up even when motivation disappears. This is where silence becomes dangerous. When you move quietly, you stop reacting, you observe. You listen. You notice patterns others miss. You see who talks too much. You see who panics. You see who needs attention. You start gathering information while everyone else is leaking it in a world where everyone overshares. The quiet person controls the room. Silence keeps you from arguing with fools. Silence keeps you from chasing snakes. Silence keeps you from wasting energy on things that do not matter. When someone disrespects you and you spend days replaying it in your head, you are not healing. You are circulating poison. When you respond to every comment, every provocation, every slight, you are letting other people control your nervous system. In the coming year, you have to learn this rule. Do not chase the snake. Heal the wound. Move forward. Most battles are distractions disguised as importance. Most arguments are traps. Most explanations are unnecessary. Here is the end reward if you stay through this message and actually apply it. You become untouchable. Not because nothing affects you, but because nothing controls you. You stop being pulled by every emotion, every opinion, every reaction. You operate from intention instead of impulse. You move with quiet confidence. You do not need to announce. You let results introduce you. People will start to feel it. They will not know why. They will say you changed. They will say you are distant. They will say you are quiet. Let them talk. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be effective. And this is just the beginning. Because silence is not the destination. It is the training ground. What comes next is discipline, detachment, systems, pain, growth, and eventually a version of you that does not need permission anymore. If you stop here, you will miss the most important part, because knowing this is not enough. You need to know how to live it, how to endure the boredom, how to survive the loneliness, how to stay consistent when nobody is clapping, how to build pressure without exploding. That is what we are going into next. Do not look away now. This is where most people quit. And this is exactly where everything starts to change. Before we go any further, let me warn you about something. What you are hearing right now will feel exciting for a moment, and then it will start to feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is important. That is how you know this is not just motivation. This is confrontation. Most people like content that makes them feel good. Very few can tolerate content that makes them responsible. If you stay with this, you are already separating yourself from the majority. Now let us go deeper. Silence alone is not enough. Silence without structure turns into avoidance. Silence without discipline becomes isolation. The real work begins when the silence forces you to face your habits, your excuses, your patterns. Because once the noise is gone, you cannot lie to yourself anymore. Here is the problem most people never solve. They think their issue is motivation. They think they need to feel ready, inspired, confident. but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Discipline is what remains when motivation disappears. And discipline is not loud. Discipline is boring. Discipline is repetitive. Discipline is doing the same small actions every day, even when nothing seems to be happening. This is where people break. They expect fireworks. They expect visible progress quickly. They expect praise. But real growth feels like nothing at first. It feels like waking up early when no one knows. It feels like training when no one is watching. It feels like reading when no one cares. It feels like choosing sleep over scrolling, water over sugar, focus over comfort. These decisions do not feel heroic. They feel lonely. And that loneliness scares people, because loneliness exposes dependency. You realize how much of your identity was tied to other people's reactions, their messages, their approval, their presence. When you remove that, you feel empty, not because you are empty, but because you never filled yourself. This is why so many people cannot sit in a quiet room for 10 minutes without reaching for stimulation. They are addicted to distraction. They are afraid of stillness, because stillness forces self-awareness, and self-awareness forces change. If you want to win in 2026, you have to retrain your nervous system. You have to stop reacting to everything. Someone cuts you off, you breathe. Someone ignores you, you move on. Someone criticizes you, you observe. You do not give your emotional energy to things that do not build your future. Every reaction is a withdrawal from your energy account, and most people are bankrupt without realizing it. You need to start treating your energy like it is limited, because it is. Every argument you replay in your head, every conversation you wish went differently, every explanation you rehearse, that is energy you are never getting back. Imagine what would happen if you invested that energy into yourself instead. Here is a truth that stings. Most people are tired not because they work too hard, but because they care about too many things that do not matter. They let other people's opinions live rent-free in their mind. They hand over control of their mood to strangers, co-workers, exes, and algorithms. You cannot build a powerful life like this. You need emotional detachment, not emotional numbness, detachment. The ability to feel without being controlled, to observe without reacting, to choose your response instead of being dragged by impulse. This is where the Stoics were right. You are not disturbed by events. You are disturbed by the meaning you attach to them. Someone disagrees with you. That does not harm you. You deciding it means you are disrespected is what harms you. Someone fails to support you. That does not destroy you. You interpreting it as rejection is what weakens you. When you change the judgment, you change the emotion. And when you change the emotion, you regain control. Now let us talk about consistency. Because this is where dreams die quietly, not from one big failure, but from small daily neglect. Skipped workouts, delayed starts, tomorrow thinking, tomorrow is dangerous. Tomorrow feels safe. Tomorrow feels responsible. But tomorrow trains your mind to delay. And delay trains your mind to quit. You have to kill the addiction to tomorrow. You start now. Not perfectly, not dramatically, but immediately. Speed of execution matters. When you hesitate, your mind creates reasons. When you move quickly, your mind adds. This does not mean rushing. It means acting before doubt has time to grow roots. It means doing the first small step in silence. No announcement, no explanation, just movement. And then you repeat again and again and again, not until it is exciting, but until it is automatic. This is where boredom becomes your teacher. Most people think boredom is the enemy, but boredom is the gatekeeper. If you can survive boredom, you can survive anything. Because boredom is where consistency lives. It is where repetition compounds. It is where mastery is built. Everyone loves the highlight. Nobody loves the grind. But the grind is where the identity changes. You stop asking if you feel like it. You stop negotiating with yourself. You do what needs to be done because that is who you are now. This is the reward waiting for you. You become someone who keeps promises to themselves, and when that happens, something shifts internally. You start to trust yourself. You start to respect yourself. And that self-respect changes how you walk, how you speak, how you decide. People feel it. You do not need to announce it. But understand this. The path you are choosing will offend people. Your boundaries will upset them. Your absence will confuse them. Your focus will intimidate them. Some will accuse you of changing. They are right. You are changing. You are shedding a version of yourself that was available, explainable, and easy to manipulate. You will have to say no without justification, without guilt. No, I cannot come. No, I am not available. No, I am focused. No is a complete sentence. Your worth is not measured by how accessible you are. It is measured by what you protect. And here is another hard truth. Some people are only in your life because you are useful to them. When you stop giving, they disappear. That hurts. But it teaches you something important. Absence is clarity. Distance reveals intention. You do not need revenge. You do not need closure. You need focus. The best response is elevation. The best answer is silence. This is where the real reward starts forming. You become unpredictable. People cannot read you. They cannot manipulate you. They cannot anticipate your moves. And unpredictability creates respect. In a world where everyone overshares, the person who holds their cards close controls the game. But do not romanticize this. This path will feel lonely. There will be nights where you question everything, where the silence feels heavy, where you want to go back to noise because at least noise feels alive. This is the test. This is the point where most people return to distraction. If you push through here, something powerful happens. The loneliness turns into solitude, and solitude becomes strength. You start thinking clearly. You start seeing patterns. You start planning instead of reacting. You start building systems instead of chasing motivation. And this leads to the next level: preparation. Because silence without preparation is just quiet struggle. Silence with preparation becomes dominance. That is where we are going next. How to use silence to weaponize preparation. How to become 3 steps ahead while everyone else is talking. How to build systems that make success inevitable. Do not leave now. This is where the advantage forms. If you are still here, understand this. You are already doing something most people will never do. You are staying when it would be easier to scroll away. That matters more than you think. Because the difference between people who change and people who stay the same is not intelligence or luck. It is tolerance. Tolerance for discomfort. Tolerance for repetition. Tolerance for being unseen. Now we move into a deeper layer. Preparation. This is where silence turns into leverage. Most people believe confidence comes from talking, from being loud, from convincing others. But real confidence comes from knowing you are prepared, knowing you have done the work, knowing that even if nobody supports you, you will still move forward. Preparation removes fear. Fear comes from uncertainty, and uncertainty comes from lack of structure. When you do not have a system, your emotions run the show. One bad day knocks you off course. One comment derails you. One setback makes you question everything. You cannot build a serious life on emotion. You build it on systems. Look around. The quiet people who win are rarely the most charismatic. They are not always the loudest or most visible, but they are consistent. They document, they prepare, they think ahead. While others are talking about ideas, they are breaking those ideas into steps. While others are dreaming, they are scheduling. While others are reacting, they are planning. You need to become that person. Silence gives you the space to think, but thinking alone is not enough. You must convert thought into structure, into routines, into habits that run even when you are tired. Ask yourself this honestly. If motivation disappeared tomorrow, would your life still move forward? Or would everything collapse? If the answer is collapse, you do not need more inspiration. You need systems. This is where discipline stops being emotional and becomes mechanical. You wake up at the same time. You train at the same time. You work at the same time, not because you feel like it, but because that is what happens now. And here's the secret most people miss. Systems create freedom. People think structure restrictive. It is the opposite. Structure removes decision fatigue. It removes negotiation. It removes chaos. When your day is designed, your mind is free to focus. Most people wake up and immediately give their attention to the world. Notifications, messages, news, social media. They start the day reacting. And once you start reacting, you never regain control. In 2026, that has to stop. You must claim the first part of your day, even if it is just 30 minutes. That time belongs to you. No phone, no noise, no input. That is creation time, planning time, training time, thinking time. When you do this consistently, something shifts. You stop feeling behind. You stop feeling rushed. You stop feeling like life is happening to you instead of through you. This is where preparation becomes a weapon. While others are improvising, you are executing. While others are emotional, you are calm. While others are distracted, you are locked in. And when moments matter, meetings, opportunities, conflicts, negotiations, You are ready. You do not need to talk much. You do not need to prove anything. One sentence from a prepared person outweighs 10 from an unprepared one. This is why silence is powerful. It allows you to listen, to observe, to read between the lines. You notice hesitation. You notice insecurity. You notice patterns. When everyone is talking, nobody is gathering information. When you are quiet, you are absorbing everything. This makes you dangerous in a calm way. Preparation is not just external. It is internal. You need to prepare your mind for pain. Because pain is coming. Discomfort is coming. Failure is coming. If you expect smooth progress, you will quit at the first obstacle. You must accept this now. Growth hurts. Discipline hurts. Saying no hurts. Being misunderstood hurts. Being lonely hurts. But so does regret. So does stagnation. So does staying the same. You do not avoid pain. You choose pain. This is the mindset shift. You stop asking how to make life easier. You ask which hard leads to freedom. Being broke is hard. Being disciplined with money is hard. Choose your hard. Being unhealthy is hard. Training consistently is hard. Choose your hard. Being resentful is hard. Having honest conversations is hard. Choose your hard. There is no path without resistance. The difference is whether the resistance builds you or breaks you. Now let us talk about the dark room, because this is where many people misinterpret what is happening in their lives. You feel alone. You feel invisible. You feel like progress is slow. You feel like nobody notices your effort. That does not mean you are failing. That means you are in development. Nothing valuable is built in the spotlight. The spotlight comes after. The work comes before. In photography, images are developed in the dark. If exposed to light too early, the image is ruined. Your life works the same way. If you expose your plans too early, they weaken. If you seek validation too early, you sabotage momentum. If you rush the reveal, you destroy the foundation. You are not being buried. You are being planted. The loneliness you feel is not punishment. It is protection. Life is removing distractions so you can build roots. Roots grow in darkness. Roots grow deep. And deep roots create stability. Most people want visible growth without invisible work. That is why they collapse under pressure. They have no roots. You are building yours now. But this requires patience. And patience is rare. We live in a culture that wants instant results, instant validation, instant success. But nature does not work like that. A bamboo tree spends years growing underground with no visible change. Then suddenly it shoots up faster than anything else. But that speed was earned in silence. If you dig it up early to check progress, it dies. Stop checking. Stop comparing. Stop measuring your behind the scenes against someone else's highlight reel. You are on your timeline. And here is the reward waiting if you stay consistent. One day, as something clicks, you realize you no longer need to explain yourself. You no longer need permission. You no longer need reassurance. You trust yourself. That is power. Because once you trust yourself, you stop hesitating. You stop doubting. You stop outsourcing your decisions. You become grounded. People feel that. They cannot name it, but they respect it. And when you finally step into the light, when results start to show, it will feel sudden to them. Overnight success. Luck. Timing. They did not see the dark room, but you did. We are not done. Because the final layer is resilience. How to keep going when motivation dies. How to stand when you are tired. How to stay silent when provoked. How to win without becoming bitter. That is where we go next. Do not stop now. This is where most people fold. If you have made it this far, understand something clearly. This is no longer about information. This is about identity. The person who keeps listening is not the same person started, because now the excuses are thinner. The awareness is sharper. And once you see certain truths, you cannot unsee them. Now we talk about resilience. This is the line that separates people who transform from people who stay inspired but unchanged. Resilience is not motivation. Motivation is emotional. Resilience is structural. It is what holds you up when emotions disappear. Because they will. There will be days when you feel nothing. No fire. No excitement. No belief. Just heaviness. Those days decide everything. Most people quit on those days. Not because they are weak, but because they built their lives on feelings instead of standards. You must understand this now. Feelings are weather. Standards are climate. You do not change the climate because of a bad day. Discipline is not about forcing yourself. It is about removing the option to quit. It is about deciding once and executing daily. On the days you feel strong, discipline feels easy. On the days you feel weak, discipline feels brutal. But those brutal days are the ones that build you. This is where the extra effort matters. The final repetition. The last 5 minutes. The small push when your mind says stop. That is where you stretch your limits. That is where you callous your mind. Most stopping points are imaginary. Your body can go further. Your mind just learned to quit early. Every time you push slightly past discomfort, you rewrite that limit. And over time, you become someone who can endure more than others. That is a competitive advantage. Now let us talk about emotional control, because this is where power becomes visible. You cannot build a great life if your emotions are driving the car. Emotions are information, not instructions. Anger, sadness, fear, these are signaled. But if you let them dictate your actions, you lose control. Someone disrespects you. That does not require reaction. Someone ignores you. That does not require explanation. Someone doubts you. That does not require proof. Silence is often the strongest response. Most people exhaust themselves trying to correct perceptions, trying to explain intentions, trying to defend themselves. You do not need to be understood by everyone. You need to be aligned with yourself. When you stop reacting, you start observing. When you stop defending, you start building. When you stop explaining, you start winning. There is a reason calm people intimidate others. Calm signals control. Calm signals certainty. Calm signals preparation. Chaos is loud. Confidence is quiet. This is where the dichotomy of control saves you. Ask one question repeatedly. Is this within my control? If it is not, release it. If it is, act. You do not fight the weather, you adapt. You do not argue with reality, you move with it. This mindset makes you stable. While others panic, you adjust. While others complain, you execute. Now we address something uncomfortable. Responsibility. At some point, you must stop blaming your parents, your past, your environment, the economy, the timing. Some of those things hurt you. Some were unfair. That matters. But it does not change the responsibility. You are responsible for fixing what you did not break. This is not punishment. This is empowerment. Because the moment you accept responsibility, you take back control. Blame hands power away. Responsibility takes it back. You cannot move forward while pointing backward. This does not mean ignoring pain. It means using it. Pain becomes fuel when directed, when processed, when turned into discipline. Now we talk about relationships. Because as you change, your circle will react. Some people will feel threatened. Some will feel abandoned. Some will try to pull you back into old habits. They will say you are cold. They will say you are distant. They will say you changed, you did. Growth requires distance. Boundaries offend people who benefited from your lack of them. You do not need to explain your boundaries. You enforce them. Some connections will fade. That hurts, but it clears space. Space for alignment. Space for peace, space for focus. Not everyone can come with you, and that is okay. Absence teaches lessons words never will. Now here is the reward forming beneath all of this. You start liking yourself, not the version that performs, not the version that gets approval, the real version, the disciplined version, the honest version. When you like yourself, desperation disappears. And desperation repels everything you want. You stop chasing. And when you stop chasing, you start attracting. Like a garden, you do not chase butterflies, you build stillness. And they come. This is the shift that changes everything. You become self-sufficient emotionally. You enjoy your own company, you trust your word, you respect your standards. And from that place, everything improves. Work, relationships, health, focus. You are no longer leaking energy. You are containing it. Now imagine this. It is late in the year. People are tired, distracted, making excuses again, and you are steady, calm, prepared. You did not announce your moves. You did not argue. You did not chase attention. You just worked quietly. And when results appear, they feel sudden to others, but to you, they feel inevitable. That is the final reward. Not shock, not applause, certainty. You know who you are. You know what you can endure. You know what you are capable of. And no opinion can take that from you. But this only happens if you commit fully. A pact with yourself, a pact of silence, a pact of focus, a pact of execution. You speak less, you do more. You protect your time, You guard your energy. You choose discipline over comfort. You stop explaining your plans and start embodying them. This is not about becoming invisible forever. This is about disappearing long enough to become undeniable. So here is the decision. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now, you close the noise. You pick one promise, and you keep it. One leads to, two lead to trust. Trust leads to power. And power, real power, does not need to announce itself. It arrives quietly, and by the time others notice, it is already too late. If you are still here, you already know what to do. Be quiet. Be focused. Be relentless. The work starts now. If you are still listening, understand this clearly. This is no longer about being motivated. This is about whether you are willing to change how you live on a daily basis. Because nothing you have heard matters if your habits stay the same. Insight without action is just another form of entertainment. And entertainment is one of the most dangerous drugs there is, because it feels productive while keeping you exactly where you are. Now we talk about the mirror. This is the part most people avoid for their entire lives. Every night you stand in front of it. Sometimes literally, sometimes mentally. And there is a question being asked, even if you do not say it out loud. Did I respect myself today? Not did I impress anyone. Not did I get noticed. Not did I feel good. Did I respect myself? Most people look away from that question. They distract themselves, they numb themselves, they tell themselves tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow only becomes different when tonight becomes honest. Self-respect is built in private. It is built when no one is clapping. It is built when no one knows. It is built when you do the right thing, even though no one will ever find out if you do not. That is why silence matters so much. Silence removes the audience. And without an audience, the ego has nothing to perform for. What is left is character. Character is what you do when there are no witnesses. Now let us talk about small promises, because this is where transformation actually starts. Most people try to change everything at once. New routines, new diets, new goals, new identities. And then they collapse under the weight of their own ambition. You do not need to overhaul your life. You need to keep one promise. Wake up when you said you would. Train when you said you would. Work when you said you would. Stop when you said you would. One promise kept daily. That is how trust is built. And trust with yourself is more important than confidence. Confidence comes and goes. Trust stays. Once you trust yourself, momentum follows. You stop negotiating. You stop doubting. You stop restarting. You just move. This is what separates people who change from people who cycle. The cyclers are always restarting, always planning, always resetting. The builders just continue. They do not need dramatic moments. They rely on continuity. Now let us address distraction again. Because distraction is the silent killer of potential. You live in an economy that profits from your attention. Every app, every notification, every headline is designed to pull you out of focus. And the more distracted you are, the weaker you become, because focus is power. Focus allows depth. Depth creates mastery. Mastery creates leverage. Shallow attention creates shallow results. You cannot build anything meaningful while constantly interrupted. You cannot think deeply while constantly reacting. You cannot grow while constantly consuming. In 2026, you must shift from consumer to producer. You must create more than you consume. Build more than you scroll. Think more than you react. This does not require deleting everything. It requires intention. Ask one question before engaging with anything. Does this make me stronger? Does this make me better? Does this move me forward? If the answer is no, it is noise. Noise is not harmless. Noise drains energy. Noise fragments attention. Noise keeps you busy but stagnant. Silence restores power. Now let us talk about patience. Because patience is misunderstood. Patience is not waiting passively. Patience is working consistently without visible reward. Patience is trusting that effort compounds even when results are delayed. Most people quit because they expect immediate feedback. They want proof that it is working. They want reassurance. But growth does not announce itself. It accumulates quietly. This is why so many people quit right before breakthrough. Because the final phase often looks identical to failure from the outside. Nothing changes visually. Nothing improves socially. Nothing feels different emotionally. But internally, structure is forming, strength is building, identity is shifting. If you can stay during that phase, you separate yourself permanently. Now we talk about loneliness again, because it will return. There will be moments where you feel disconnected, where conversations feel shallow, where old environments no longer fit. That does not mean you are broken, it means you are evolving. Loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the transition between identities. Do not rush to fill it. Do not rush back to noise. Let it shape you. Solitude sharpens thinking. Solitude clarifies values. Solitude strengthens resolve. Some of the strongest people in history scheduled time alone, not because they were antisocial, but because they understood its power. If you cannot sit alone with your thoughts, you are not free. You are dependent. Freedom begins when you are comfortable in your own presence. Now here is something important. Do not confuse silence with isolation forever. Silence is a season, not a prison. You are not disappearing to punish yourself. You are disappearing to rebuild yourself. And when the foundation is strong, when habits are locked in, when identity is solid, you re-enter with intention. You choose where your energy goes. You choose who gets access. You choose what deserves your attention. This is when life becomes calm, not easy. Calm. Calm because you are no longer fighting yourself. Now imagine the end of this process. You wake up early without resistance. You move through the day with clarity. You do what needs to be done without drama. You sleep without regret. You do not need external motivation. You do not need constant reassurance. You know what you are doing, and you know why people notice something different, not because you told them, but because it shows. Your posture changes. Your voice steadies. Your reaction slow. You are not rushed. You are not frantic. You are not chasing. You are building. And this is where the final shift happens. You stop needing the world to see you, because you finally see yourself. And when that happens, everything changes. This is not the end. There is more coming, because the final step is integration, turning all of this into a way of life that lasts. Stay with it. This is where it becomes real. If you are still here, this is no longer a phase. This is a line crossed. Most people never make it this far, not because the ideas are complex, but because commitment exposes comfort. And comfort always fights back. Now we talk about integration. This is where everything you have heard stops being something you do and starts being something you are. At the beginning, discipline feels external. You force it. You schedule it. You remind yourself. You rely on rules to keep you in place. That is necessary. But it is not the final form. The final form is identity. You no longer ask, should I train today? You train because that is who you are. You no longer ask, should I tell the truth? You tell the truth because lying does not fit your self-image. You no longer debate standards. You live them. This is the shift from effort to alignment. When actions align with identity, friction disappears. Life does not become easy, but it becomes cleaner. Fewer internal arguments, less self-betrayal, less regret. This is why so many people struggle. They try to change behavior without changing identity. They act disciplined but still see themselves as inconsistent. They act confident but still identify as insecure. And identity always wins. You must update the internal narrative. You are not trying to be focused. You are focused. You are not working on discipline. You are disciplined. You are not hoping to become resilient. You are resilient. At first, this feels dishonest. That is normal. But identity is not built on feelings. It is built on evidence. Every kept promise is evidence. Every hard day endured is evidence. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you reinforce the identity. Eventually, the new identity becomes undeniable. Now let us talk about relapse, because it will happen. You will miss a day. You will slip into old habits. You will feel frustration, guilt, doubt. This is where most people collapse. They turn a mistake into a story. I always fail. I never stick with anything. This proves it. That story is more damaging than the mistake. The rule is simple. Never miss twice. You fall off one day. You get back on the next. No drama, no punishment, no emotional spiral. Consistency is not perfection. It is recovery speed. Strong people are not those who never fall. They are those who stand back up immediately. This mindset removes fear of failure. And when fear disappears, execution improves. Now we talk about long timelines, because real power compounds slowly. Most people live in short cycles, weeks, months. They want visible change fast. But life-changing results operate on years. Health, skill, wealth, reputation, all of it compounds quietly. The person who commits to 5 years of quiet consistency becomes unrecognizable. You do not need intensity forever. You need sustainability. Extreme effort burns out. Calm consistency wins. This is why integration matters. You build a life you can maintain, not a sprint you survive. Now let us talk about humility, because as you grow, ego will try to return. You will start getting results, attention, respect, and the temptation will be to announce it, to flex, to seek validation again. This is where many fall. True confidence does not need to prove itself. True power does not demand recognition. Stay grounded, stay curious, stay a student. The moment you think you are finished, growth stops. Silence remains a tool even after success. You do not need to tell people what you are doing. You show them through consistency. Now we talk about contribution, because eventually this stops being just about you. When your life is stable, disciplined, and grounded, you become useful to others. Not by preaching, not by performing, but by example. People will ask how you changed, what you did, what you read, how you stayed consistent. You do not need to give speeches. You give clarity. You help without ego. You guide without controlling. You share without attachment. This is leadership in its quietest form. Now here is the final truth. The goal was never to disappear forever. The goal was to become solid enough to stand anywhere. Silence was the training ground. Focus was the tool. Discipline was the process. Identity was the result. You do not need to be loud to be powerful. You do not need to rush to be relevant. You do not need approval to move forward. You have built something internal that cannot be taken. And that is the highest form of security. From here, life becomes less reactive, less chaotic, less fragile. You still face challenges, but you face them from a grounded place. You trust yourself. And that trust changes everything. This is not an ending. It is a beginning that lasts. Move forward quietly, build patiently, stand firmly. You are ready. If you are still here, this is no longer about becoming strong. It is about staying clean inside while the world tries to pull you off center. This is the final refinement. The difference between power that lasts and power that corrodes. Now we talk about maintenance. Most people think the hardest part is the climb. It is not. The hardest part is staying consistent when life becomes comfortable again, when urgency fades, when pain softens, when discipline no longer feels like survival. This is where many fall back. Comfort whispers, you earned a break. You can loosen up. Now, just this once, and just this once, slowly becomes the old life again. Maintenance requires awareness. You must regularly audit yourself, not harshly, honestly. Ask yourself, am I still keeping my promises? Am I protecting my mornings? Am I consuming more than I create? Am I reacting or choosing? These questions keep you aligned. The moment you stop checking yourself is the moment drift begins. Now we address pride, because pride is subtle. Pride shows up as rigidity, as thinking you no longer need the basics, as skipping fundamentals, because you feel above them. The basics are what built you. The basics will keep you. Train even when you feel strong. Plan even when things feel stable. Reflect even when life is good. Maintenance is boring, and that is why it works. Now let us talk about emotional residue. Even disciplined people carry old wounds, old resentment, old comparisons, old identities that occasionally surface. Do not suppress them. Observe them. When bitterness shows up, ask what boundary was crossed. When jealousy appears, ask what standard you are avoiding. When anger rises, ask what fear is underneath. Emotions are messengers. You listen without obeying. This keeps you clean internally. Now something important. Not all silence is healthy. Silence used for growth is intentional. Silence used to avoid is not. If something must be said, say it calmly. If a boundary must be set, set it clearly. If a truth must be expressed, express it without aggression. Strength is not avoidance. It is clarity. You do not disappear from conflict. You handle it without chaos. Now we talk about seasons. There will be seasons of intense focus, seasons of expansion, seasons of rest. Do not force one season to last forever. Winter prepares, spring builds, summer expands, fall refines. Respect the cycle. Burnout happens when you ignore seasons. Now we address meaning. Eventually, discipline alone will not be enough. You will need purpose, not a dramatic purpose, not something to impress others. A quiet reason that pulls you forward on difficult days. It might be providing. It might be creating. It might be mastering a craft. It might be protecting peace. Purpose does not have to be loud. It just has to be true. When purpose is clear, discipline feels natural. Now here is the final integration. You no longer measure progress by excitement. You measure it by stability. You no longer chase intensity. You build consistency. You no longer seek to be seen. You seek to be aligned. And alignment creates a life that feels solid even when nothing is perfect. This is the quiet win. Now imagine this version of you. Calm under pressure. Focused without force. Disciplined without resentment. Present without distraction. You are not rushing. You are not proving. You are not hiding. You are simply steady. That steadiness becomes your signature. People trust it. Opportunities follow it. Peace lives in it. Not because you demanded it, but because you became it. This is where the journey settles, not into complacency, but into quiet mastery. You move through life without noise, and when life tests you, as it always will, you do not break character. Because character is no longer something you perform. It is who you are. This is the end of the message, not the end of the work. Carry it quietly. Live it daily, and let the results speak when you no longer need them to. If you read everything before this, understand what that means. You did not just consume words, you followed a path. Step by step, layer by layer. And now, this is not about remembering the script. It is about living the principles. So here is the truth, distilled. This entire message was never about silence. It was about ownership. Silence was the tool. Discipline was the method. Focus was the weapon. Identity was the outcome. You began by stepping away from noise, not to disappear, but to hear yourself again. Because clarity only shows up when distractions leave. In that quiet, you learn that confidence is not volume. It is preparation. It is knowing you can handle what is coming because you have built systems that do not rely on mood. You learn that motivation is unreliable, but standards are not. That emotions come and go, but structure holds. That real freedom comes from routines so solid they remove the need to negotiate with yourself. You face the dark room, the loneliness, the invisibility, and you learned it was not punishment. It was development. You were not being buried. You were being planted. Roots first, results later. You learned to choose your pain, that every path has resistance, and the only real choice is whether that resistance builds you or keeps you stuck. Discipline hurt, but regret hurts more. You learned resilience, not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind that shows up on empty days, the kind that keeps promises when no one is watching, the kind that recovers fast instead of collapsing over mistakes. You stopped reacting, you stopped explaining, you stopped defending. You learned that calm is not weakness. Calm is control, and control is power. You accepted responsibility, fully, not as blame, but as freedom. Because once you own your life, no one else controls it. You learn that growth requires distance, that not everyone comes with you, that boundaries offend people who benefited from your lack of them, and that is okay. You rebuilt self-respect in private, one promise at a time, until you trusted yourself. And once trust was there, desperation disappeared. You shifted from consumer to builder, from noise to depth, from attention-seeking to mastery. You learned that focus compounds, and shallow living does not. You stopped rushing results and started respecting time. You understood that real change works on long timelines, that patience is not waiting, it is working without applause. You integrated it all into identity. Discipline stopped being something you forced and became something you embodied. You stopped trying to be someone new and started acting like who you had already proven yourself to be. You learned to recover, not restart, to never miss twice, to treat mistakes as data, not destiny. You learned maintenance. That comfort is dangerous. That basics are sacred. That pride sneaks in quietly, and that self-audits keep you clean. You learned that silence is not avoidance. That strength includes clear boundaries and honest conversation. That calm confrontation is still strength. You learned seasons, when to push, when to build, when to rest, when to refine. And finally, you learn purpose. Not a loud one, a true one. A reason that holds on days when nothing feels exciting. So here is who you are now, if you live this. You are not loud. You are grounded. You are not rushed. You are prepared. You are not chasing. You are building. You are not fragile. You are stable. You are not performing discipline. You are disciplined. You move quietly. You think clearly. You act deliberately, and the world will feel this before it ever understands it. This is the kind of power that does not need validation, This is the kind of confidence that does not announce itself. This is the kind of life that cannot be taken from you, not because you were lucky, not because you were special, but because you chose to do the work in silence, consistently, relentlessly. This is not the end. This is the standard. Now close the script and live it. Do like and subscribe our channel.